Hey everyone, One Spittin' here. So last weekend, this is my second game out of four using my Beastmen. This time it's against some Savage Orcs, 2,500 points, and we rolled up the Blood and Glory scenario, which I think is probably my favorite scenario. This Savage Orc army, I think, is a very cool theme to it. I think it's very competitive, uh, and if it ever got painted, would look really cool. So start on my far right. He's got some Savage Orc boys. There's a level 2 caster. It's hard to remember because there's no model on there, and I have no idea what lore he brought or how he was built because it just wasn't significant. So he's got a horde of Savage Orcs, and that is very significant. There is a level 4 caster. You really can't see him. He would almost have to be painted really differently to stand out. Anyway, I know he has a lucky shrunken head. I don't know what else he has. I'm sure he has a ward save. Some river trolls, some more savage orc boar boys. There's his general. I This general, I know he starts off with 3 attacks. He's got an extra hand weapon for 4 attacks, and he's frenzied, so he has 5 attacks. Now, other than that, I don't remember what his build was. I'm pretty sure it was fairly defensive after that because those things alone make him pretty good offensive. Anyway, there's another unit of Savage Orcs, and then the other piece of impassable terrain, there's another unit of Savage Orcs. So and he's pretty strong in magic. He's very strong in combat. He has no shooting whatsoever. So starting my far left, I've got some Minotaurs, a chariot. The chariot's there because if Minotaurs attack something, I kind of need the chariot to help run it down should I win combat and break them. I've got a Razor Gore, a unit of Bestigor, and my general's in there, and he's kitted out, so he basically has a 1-up rerollable armor save. Every time he makes an armor save, he gets an extra attack, and he's got Crown of Command, and that's my favorite build for that guy. I've got a unit of Harpies behind him. I've got a horde of Gore with the Battle Standard Bearer, and he's got the Beast Banner, so they're all +1 strength. The problem is, once you give him that banner, you can't give him any magic items. You can give him a Chaos Gift of Gnarled Hide to give him a 2-up rerollable or a 2-up armor save. But the problem is I kind of need that to get my general the 1-up rerollable, because to give him a 3-up rerollable doesn't really do you a whole lot of good. So I'm torn with this. I love giving that unit strength 4, but it makes the BSB extremely fragile. Anyway, to the right I've got a kind of a bunker for my spellcasters, just a bunch of Gore. I've got a level 4. He's got the Stone of Spite and a 4-up ward. I don't plan on keeping him in that unit. In all honesty, I don't remember why I started him there. He'll eventually go with the bunker, the horde. Anyway, I've also got a couple level 1s. One has a scroll, the other has a Hearthstone. Then I've got another unit of Harpies. So, Orcs get the first turn, and so they move up. It looks something like this. Nothing of significance happens in the magic phase. And we go to Beastmen turn 1. So really what I'm trying to do with my Harpies and my Razor Gore is just set up some favorable charges for me. I'd kind of like to get my Bestigor in with his River Trolls, but I don't mind if his River Trolls come into my Strength 4 horde, if that allows me to get maybe a flank charge on him with my Bestigor later or something like that. So for the most part, I'm not really zooming forward. I want him to come to me, and I'd like to get some flank charges set up. Because he's frenzied, if he gets a charge into my Razor Gore or my Harpies, he's going to have to overrun, and that should allow me some flank charges. Although, in hindsight, I probably should have angled these guys just a little bit more. These guys meaning the Harpies and the Razor Gore. So really what I would love to do is get some favorable charges where I can get them, and then use my Harpies here behind my lines to keep from getting countercharged after I get those. So here's what the left looks like. Just some more angles. Nothing of significance happens in the magic phase, and we go to Orc turn 2. So his general's unit with the Boar Boys decide to go ahead and charge my Razor Gore, and with the overrun, he's going to get an overrun into my Harpies. And that's where I'm thinking I really should have angled the Harpies more, because it's questionable whether or not my general's unit is going to get into the flank of his Boar Boys next round of combat. The other problem with that is even if I do get into the flank of him, he's going to have a lot of static combat res from killing the Harpies. But my general has Crown of Command, so my thinking is if he gets into the Harpies and I get into his flank, I'm okay with that because nobody's going to countercharge me. He might win combat killing all those Harpies, and it shouldn't really matter with my general being stubborn, and it should give me an opportunity just to use my strength 6 to kill a bunch of Boar Boys. Anyway, you can see his River Trolls made a long charge into my horde, and he's doing that to try to pick off the Battle Standard Bearer, which I think is a great plan. Like I said, he's just really, really fragile. Otherwise, the left looks like this. He tested to restrain the frenzied units from charging my Harpies. And on the right. So there's the one that, yeah, I mean, I've got a level 4. I've got my Beast Banner in there. If this were my turn, I could move some level 1s up maybe and then use the Lore of Shadow attribute to pull my BSB out of there and replace him with a level 1. But this charges in his turn, and so I'm not going to have the opportunity to do that. So then the magic phase happens, and he has the beefed up spell where the foot of Gork or something comes down, and he didn't get it irresistible, and I had enough dice I might have been able to dispel it, but he still had left over a ton of dice, so I decided just to let it go, because my thinking is, it hits, it's going to scatter d6, and then there's a 50% chance it's not going to hit again, 50% chance it'll continue to stomp, but then, even then it's going to scatter d6. So my thinking was, I don't really think it's that much to fear. So he hits the score unit bunker. Then what he's trying to do is cause enough wounds to force a panic attack, a panic test on them, a panic attack on me. So he rolls it, it scatters, it really only kills a couple guys, but he rolls a 4-up, it hits again, gets a direct hit, and just obliterates the unit, including a level 1. And so yeah, that was pretty bad. But then he rolls a 4-up for the second time, scatters just a tiny bit, and kills 11 of my Bestigor. So not the end of the world, but I'm wishing at this point that I had dispelled or tried to dispel the thing. But then he rolls a 4-up again and hits my Minotaurs. It scatters a tiny bit, does a bunch of wounds. Then he rolls a 4-up again, scores another direct hit on my Minotaurs, and obliterates the unit. And I have to confess, at this point, I was actually really cranky. And I try not to be cranky in my games. I was cranky at this, and it's my own fault. I mean, I could have and should have tried to dispel it. My thinking was, we're in some important combat soon. I don't need him getting certain buffs off, and this one I didn't think would obliterate my army, or at least certain units of my army, the way it did. But it took 2 full units down to nothing and greatly weakened my Bestigor unit. Yeah, that hurt. So after combat, he was able to snipe the BSB. Otherwise, only did one more wound, or maybe 2 wounds on my Gore. So you can tell he allocated a lot of attacks on my Battle Standard Bearer. I won combat, couldn't run him down, and the only good news is it allows me to charge him on my turn into his horde, and it'll give me an extra combat res, it'll take away his impact hits, and it'll allow me a magic phase to hopefully get some buffs and debuffs I need for that combat. So his general's unit easily wipes out the Razor Gore, overruns into my Harpies, and it sets up some nice counter charges for me. So we go to Beastman turn 2. So at this point, yeah, so the horde fails its charge on his horde. And I don't remember what I needed, but it wasn't a very long charge. I think I needed to roll a 6 or something. Then my chariot and my Bestigors both fail their charge into his general's unit. Yeah, I was cranky at this point. Yeah, so I pull my level 1 out of the unit of Gore, because I really think what's going to happen. And I set up my Harpies. I really did a bad job with the Harpies. I like my plan of trying to use Harpies to redirect, and so I needed to keep these Boar Boys out of the flank of my horde next turn, so that's why I angled them the way I did. But the problem is, if he overruns, he's likely to get into the flank of my gore unit down here, finish them off, and that might panic my level 1 off the board. But with all those failed charges and with with what happened with his magic phase, I mean, the game's kind of going in the crapper pretty quickly anyway. So anyway, the board looks like this. Yes, still a little bit miffed about that. Oh, that's after combat. He beat the Harpies, overran, and the good news is he landed where I could countercharge him. The bad news is this was my turn. So on his turn, he can charge the Minotaurs, charge that chariot, easily get out of sight of my general's unit, and yeah. The one good thing that happened here, by the way, is during the magic phase, I got the Stone of Spite spell off. It's a bound spell that my level 4 can take, and so it destroyed the Lucky Shrunken Head, so if we get in combat, he's not going to have the 5-up. The bad news is because I kind of needed that to go last because I had to burn through his Dispel dice first, and so what it kept me from doing was swapping out my level 1 with my level 4. So now when we get in combat, my level 4 is going to be vulnerable. But regardless, I wasn't able to kill his caster with it, or I don't think he even did a wound to him. That would have been nice because that's his general. If I could, it's not his general. I'm sorry, but it's his last big spellcaster. Anyway, didn't kill him. So we go to Orc's turn 3. He gets the charge off on my horde. I think that's going to be in his favor because the only debuff I have is -1 weapon skill on his guys, so it's not really going to affect much. His Boar Boys. Let's see. He must have charged my Harpies as well as my Gore unit. I'm not sure how that happened all in all, but it looks something like that. His general charged my Minotaurs, and I fled. And he must have failed his redirect into my chariot, or he must have decided to stay with the Minotaurs thinking he could get him. But he failed that charge, and so he's actually still... I can countercharge him, which I think is just wonderful. After combat, his horde beats my horde. I really don't think I have a chance of winning the game at this point. My fortitude is down to, let's see, 2 banners, 1 with my Bestigors, 1 with my Minotaurs, and my general. So I'm at 4, so if I lose another banner, I'm dead. Or if I lose my general, that's the game. So, yeah. So on my turn, I rally. My Harpies fail to rally. They land where you see them. Minotaurs rally, which I thought was nice, because had they not rallied, that would be the game. And I got a dual charge in his general's unit. So, again, I've given up on winning the game. I'm hoping just to, kill his general, maybe get a banner on this unit, and redeem some kind of dignity out of the situation. So it looks like that. I make way with my general. He moves his general over, and he puts his general in the 2nd rank. And what that does is blocks out all but 2 of my Bestigor attacks. So I'll get my general in a challenge with his general, 2 Bestigor attacks, and then, of course, the chariot. So my chariot does 1 wound with its impact hits. We go to the challenge. His general has 5 attacks. Again, I think it's base 3, 1 for extra hand weapon, 1 for frenzy. And I think he's strength 6, first round of combat. So my 1-up goes to a 4-up rerollable. Out of 5 attacks, he gets 3 attacks go through, and I fail a 4-up rerollable on all of them. My general dies, and that's the game. And I've never been so happy to have my general die, so I could just end this thing and be done with it. Like I said, it just went to the crapper really quickly. So my opponent was being very gracious, being very quiet after the last half of the game when I was being cranky about it. And the Beastmen take an utter beating. It was my first game of really focusing on using Harpies and Razorgores redirectors, and I don't think I did a wonderful job with it, but it was good practice for me. Other than that, yeah, some games are just going to go like that. I'm not blaming it all on bad luck. I think I had some bad gameplay, and then luck just chose not to help me out. So another beating for the Beastmen. Very happy to have 2 games remaining this day so I can see if I can figure things out with these guys. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed it.